We hear that the announcement is going to take place 6 p.m. tomorrow night in a Twitter Space conversation that Ron DeSantis will have with Elon Musk.
Wait, what was that?
In a Twitter Space conversation that Ron DeSantis will have with Elon Musk.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will officially announce that he's running for president. And guess what? He's not going to do it like everybody else and do it in person. No. He's going to do it on a Twitter Space with Elon Musk. Welcome, folks, to another episode of What Was That? The show that brings you the latest political absurdities with a side of sarcasm. I'm your host, Gabe Sanchez, and you better hold on to your rockets because this one's gonna be a wild ride. It would seem that Florida meatball Ron DeSantis has set his sights on the highest office in the land. That's right, DeSantis wants to be president, and he's using big tech Elon Musk to make his announcement. This is the same Elon Musk who tweeted that Twitter must be politically neutral. And the day before the 2022 midterms, he tweeted that people should vote for a Republican Congress. And he also tweeted that he would vote for Ron DeSantis in 2024 and that Twitter should be fair to all. The same guy who is personally helping Ron DeSantis announce his presidential run.
We'll be interviewing Ron DeSantis, and he has quite an announcement to make. And will be the first time that something like this is happening on social media and with real-time questions and answers, not scripted.
Real-time and not scripted? No. Ron DeSantis does not perform well in those conditions, especially televised ones. But that actually might explain why he's announcing his candidacy over an audio Twitter Space. Honestly, I can tell you right now that his Twitter Space announcement will go just about as well as one of Elon's rockets. But if we look back at the 2022 gubernatorial debates, we knew that this was happening, especially when DeSantis couldn't answer this simple question.
Ron, you talk about Joe Biden a lot. I understand. You think you're going to be running against him. I can see how you might get confused, but you're running for governor. You're running for governor, and I have a question for you. You're running for governor. Why don't you look in the eyes of the people of the state of Florida and say to them, if you're reelected, you will serve a full 4-year term as governor. Yes or no? Yes or no, Ron? Will you serve a full 4-year term if you're reelected governor of Florida? It's not a tough question. It's a fair question. He won't tell you.
He's absolutely right. It's not a tough question. It's a simple yes or no answer. But DeSantis couldn't do that because he needed the governorship as his backup just in case. Whenever DeSantis is cornered and feels overwhelmed, he doesn't know how to process and he just ends up looking like a deer caught in headlights. And the next time we saw him short circuit like that was on the international stage in Japan when DeSantis was asked a question about Donald Trump.
Governor, polls show you falling behind Trump. Any thoughts on that?
I'm not a candidate, so we'll see if and when that changes.
But DeSantis knew he was going to run. He was just waiting to do it after his 4-country overseas trip to Japan, South Korea, Israel, and the United Kingdom. You know, the one that would give him the image of being an international leader. I'm also not exactly sure what traveling to any of these countries has to do with being the governor of Florida, but hey, I guess we'll never know since it was paid for by private donations and is shielded from anyone from finding out. One of those stops was in Jerusalem where DeSantis had a meltdown when he was questioned about his time working at Guantanamo Bay.
During your time at Guantanamo, did you witness any incidents?
No, none of all that's BS. No, totally BS.
Governor
Yep.
DeSantis, you say you were present during force feedings. Is that
Who said that?
detainees have told us that?
How would they know me? Okay, think about that. Do you honestly believe that's credible? So this is 2006. I'm a junior officer. Do you honestly think that they would have remembered me from Adam? Of course not. They're just trying to get into the news because they know people like you will consume it because it fits your preordained narrative.
DeSantis is clearly not ready for any of the interactions outside of the safe space of his Florida press conferences. I also think that this moment is important to highlight for 2 key reasons. The first is that this freakout happened at Israel's Museum of Tolerance, so great job, Ron. Way to cosplay as a cool, level-headed world leader. And the second is that Ron DeSantis denied to Piers Morgan that he had anything to do with force-feeding detainees at Guantanamo Bay.
One of the things they said was that you authorize the use of force-feeding.
That's some of the. Yeah, that's not true. Yeah, any of the stuff that people.
Just to finish, force-feeding the detainees who were on hunger strike. Was that true?
So I was a junior officer. I didn't have authority to authorize anything. There may have been a commander that would have done feeding if someone was going to die, but that was not something that I would have even had authority to do.
So that's wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, during an interview with CBS Miami in 2018, DeSantis admitted to recommending force feeding for hunger strikers.
The thing you notice the day you get down there is for these detainees, the jihad was still ongoing. Right. And they would wage jihad any way they can. Now, they're in a facility, so it's limited, but some of the things they would do hunger strikes. And you actually had 3 detainees that committed suicide with hunger strikes. So everything at that time was legal in nature one way or another. So the commander wants to know, well, how do I combat this? So one of the jobs of the legal advisor would be like, hey, you actually can force feed. Here's what you can do. Here's kind of the rules of that.
And then in an interview with Democracy Now!, a former Guantanamo Bay detainee told the network that DeSantis was watching and laughing while they force-fed him.
I was bleeding because they really insert a thick tube through my nose. So I was like calling them, asking, and he was actually laughing, looking at the other officers and smiling.
Now, ever since DeSantis was reelected as governor, he has made sure to avoid Florida like the plague. In addition to the countries mentioned earlier, Ron DeSantis has made sure to travel to other states like Iowa and New Hampshire. The guy has been campaigning to run for president without officially announcing. And while DeSantis was in Iowa, he tried to prove that he's an average farm-raised blue-collar American like everyone else. But the only problem is that the guy is never able to ever act like a normal human.
Hey, Senator, South Dakota.
Oh, okay, nice. So how far is that from here?
Go about an hour to see you.
Oh, okay, nice.
Great job.
Thanks for doing that.
And I may be alone in this conspiracy, but I believe Ron DeSantis is either a body snatcher or an android. I mean, have you seen the guy laugh?
That was nice. How much is that worth?
We won't even talk about that.
It's like Ron DeSantis watched Austin Powers and then downloaded Dr. Evil's laugh track. And Ron DeSantis definitely doesn't practice any sort of social etiquette.
Crazy. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Okay, don't back down. We won't.
Oh, gross. What kind of person wipes their snot on someone? And then when DeSantis traveled to New Hampshire on his presidential, non-presidential tour, it was even more odd.
How are you doing? Good, sir. Wow, look at this. You guys said hi. How are you guys? Good to see you. So what do you got? Go right over here?
Yes.
Okay. Good deal. Good deal.
Thank
wow. You. Crowded, huh? Good. Hey, how are you doing? It smells really good, I'll tell you that. So we'll do it, okay.
He walks into the diner, looks totally out of place, and then narrates everything that he observes.
What's your name?
I'm Tim Hampton.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. It's great to be up in New Hampshire.
How are you
guys doing? Stay tuned,
man.
Now, a normal introduction would go something like this. Hi, I'm Gabe. Nice to meet you. What's your name? Instead, DeSantis says, okay, and then turns to the other guy in the booth, dismissing the first guy. I mean, talk about alienating a potential voter. So now, in the most Ron DeSantis way possible, he thinks the best way to court new voters and make a big splash in the 2024 presidential campaign is to announce his candidacy on Twitter Spaces with Elon Musk. You can't make this shit up.
Well, I've said publicly that my preference, and I think would be the preference of most Americans, is really to have someone fairly normal in office.
Elon Musk wouldn't know normal if it hit him with a self-driving Tesla. And as a candidate, Ron DeSantis is nothing close to being normal. The guy has nothing to show the American people other than his fascist, anti-American accomplishments. When it comes to jobs, DeSantis is a killer. The guy single-handedly tried to fight Bob Iger and Disney, and as a result lost his state 2,000 jobs, so yeah, great job, Ronnie. Also, Ron DeSantis and the state of Florida are now being sued by Hamburger Mary's as they're claiming his new anti-LGBTQ legislation has significantly hurt their businesses and targeted the LGBTQ community. Oh, and how could I forget? In addition to banning books in Florida, Ron DeSantis also banned pronouns.
This bill makes sure that Florida students and teachers will never be forced to declare pronouns in school or be forced to use pronouns not based on biological sex. We never did this through all of human history until 2 weeks ago? Now this is something, they're having third graders declare pronouns. We're not doing the pronoun Olympics in Florida. It's not happening here.
And just like that, the state of Florida dropped 70 IQ points. So when I see Ron DeSantis announce his presidential run on a Twitter space of all places, I can't help but mock it. I'm sorry, Ron, but it's too late. That ship sailed 3 pudding fingers ago.
Ron DeSantis loves sticking his fingers where they don't belong. And we're not just talking about pudding. DeSantis has his dirty fingers all over senior entitlements, like cutting Medicare, slashing Social Security, even raising our retirement age. Tell Ron DeSantis to keep his pudding fingers off our money. Oh, and somebody get this man a spoon.
Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Ron DeSantis not only allowed Donald Trump to attack him for months and call him a pedophile, but the Florida android is so out of touch with everyday Americans that he has no chance of being the Republican Party's nominee. And until the nominee is chosen, they'll attack each other and their base, and as a result, cause their party to split as they go into the election. So yeah, keep doing it. It makes our job way easier.
Donald Trump is being attacked by a Democrat prosecutor in New York. So why is he spending millions attacking the Republican governor of Florida? Trump's stealing pages from the Biden-Pelosi playbook, repeating lies about Social Security. Here's the truth from Governor Ron DeSantis.
We're not going to mess with Social Security as Republicans.
But what did Trump say?
Entitlements ever be on your plate?
At some point they will be. We will take a look at that.
Trump should fight Democrats, not lie about Governor DeSantis. What happened to Donald Trump? Never Back Down Inc. is responsible for the contents of this ad.
Well, until next episode, I'm Gabe Sanchez, and this has been What Was That? If you enjoyed today's episode and want to support the work that goes into creating the What Was That show, you can join my Patreon at whatwasthatshow.com. You'll get access to early episodes, exclusive bits, behind-the-scenes content, access to the show's private Discord, as well as live Q&As to connect directly with me to offer up comments, questions, and suggested topics to be featured on the show. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you over on Patreon.